I just watched season 3 and I think it's pretty amazing, but there are some gripes I have with it, so let's talk about it. Alright, so starting off with the positives, I'm super happy they didn't add that weird break in between seasons like they did with season 2, because as a binge watcher, it kind of just ruined the experience for me, and I had to wait like extra just for the next 4 episodes. So thankfully they didn't do that this season. I like this season more than season 2 just because of how they played around the theme of forgiveness. With Mark's character especially, he wants to forgive his dad, but he can't forgive other villains when they try to redeem themselves. And also how they use Cecil's backstory and like paralleled him with Mark, I thought that was really powerful. As well as the fact that Powerplex episode where Mark has to fight and confront Powerplex, he basically has to forgive himself as well for what happened in Chicago. And of course we have to talk about that conquest scene. I mean, that was really well done. When he's talking to Mark and he talks about how lonely he is, really humanizes him, and it shows that Viltrumites can change, as well as the fact that it just gives Conquest more depth. Because in the comics, he was kind of just seen as the guy that just fought because he liked to fight and he was just kind of there to be the big bad threat. But now we get to see a little bit more into Conquest and how he was basically grown in to fight and how all the other Viltrumites fear him, which just adds more of like that fear. I think it was really well done. And honestly, I hope they add more stuff like that for other characters, because I love when the show puts in a little more involvement into the side characters and just expands on them, because it's like a rewriting a little bit for the comics. That's what it did with Shrinking Ray, and I would just love to see more of that in the show. But anyways, that was all the good parts about season 3. Now I think it's time for me to complain and talk about the bad. Now the first thing I want to like complain about, I guess, is Mark and Eve's relationship. Now I get this season they were like building it, but I feel like it could have been done more properly. They rushed things and it just didn't feel very natural. I can't put a particular word to it, but I just didn't really like how it went. And even in the comics, it was pretty bad too. And I guess Robert Kirkman never really saw that as an issue. But by the end of the season, it feels normal, but they seem very rushed at the start, and I didn't really like that. And also, it was very weird in season 2, the fact that Eve from the future was still holding on to that, the fact that she liked Mark 20 years ago. Like, even if she did love him, it's still, I don't know, they barely talked, and I think more stuff should have been added from previous seasons or even this season to help make it builds and just seem more natural. But I get they had to get the relationship done to hit the plot point, so it's alright. And honestly, by the end, it's a fine relationship, so I don't really mind. Now, another thing I want to complain about is those rooftop scenes. Basically, I felt like every episode they went on the rooftop, Mark and Eve, and they talked about their problems, and Eve would basically console Mark, and Mark would just like complain and say what he learned. And I honestly thought it was super formulaic, and I didn't understand why they kept on doing that. Finally, I'm just kind of disappointed that we didn't get more Alan in this season. Honestly, Alan's one of my favorite characters, and we did have like a little portion from him, but other than that, we didn't really get to see him that much. Same with Nolan. I thought it'd been cool to see him a bit more, but I understand that they're probably gonna make it a more Alan and Nolan focused next season, so I'm fine with that. And I'm also kind of anticipating the Damien Darkblood stuff to be really good, just because I haven't seen the comics and it seems like Kirkman is rewriting the show again. So hopefully, like what he did for Conquest, the Darkblood stuff will be insanely well written and hype. But other than that, I think Invincible season 3 is honestly overall still really good. It's still Invincible and it hasn't gotten worse or anything. I just had a gripe with some of the things in the season, but honestly, it's a lot of the things that I feel like they can improve on or they're probably not going to do next season. Like, I don't think they're going to do a rooftop scene. I think they're going to show more Alan, and I think they already fleshed out the relationship, so it should be fine, honestly. But yeah, hopefully seasons 4 will be exciting. I'm honestly just waiting for the Viltrum War. That's going to be like my favorite part. But yeah, I think Invincible overall season 3 was pretty good, all things considered, and comparing it to like other shows, I think it was very well done, and hopefully season 4 carries that same quality and maybe even improves on it. But yeah, that'll be the end of this video. I'll catch you guys later. Bye.